What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Burning the midnight oil tonight, so hope you're ready to cover almost the exact same thing I covered last night on cysteine research, since the price action has gone almost nowhere. So just going to start off, try to get on TikTok tonight, and it did not load, let me log in, so no worries there. Got the full screen here for you tonight for YouTube, so that's all that matters. Got a couple in here. Alato, how you doing? Magic Internet Money in the house. Crypto Shinobi on the way home from the brother's birthday dinner. Nice. Hope you guys enjoyed a nice B-Day feast with your big crypto winnings from the day. All right, just kind of jumping right into it. So still, the thumbnail is, just kind of allude to what I was talking about last night, and even in members only market update, probably last couple of nights as well. One thing I didn't put on there, Magic pointed out, was the option to go sideways, right? So kind of put a little poll on on Twitter, looking to see just kind of what the average, not the average, but just the majority, right? Seeing what everybody's kind of anticipating. And we're prepared for either way, of course, as always. But it is last night when I was on with Forrest, he was pointing out a lot of, negative news catalysts that were kind of floating around. We got, FOMC interest rate, meetings and, whatever galore in the next, I guess this week and, potentially coming up. Not necessarily something I, really keep track of. And, yeah, it's just very interesting to note that, many are expecting some downside. So while, Magic probably nailed it the best, stating that we're probably going to, just trickle sideways for a little bit longer here. Big move is obviously on the horizon across the board. So whether or not that's back down to, for Bitcoin, like that 19K region, fill the CME gap, come down to some of those lower levels and bottom of the range, things of that nature. Ethereum, obviously, that would take us down to some of the lower areas we've been targeting as well. One of them really like one thing to point out, I guess, for the downside, right, is that our overall range here for ETH is, we've re-entered it once again. So, once we get into re-enter those ranges, and we got pretty decent little back test here. So we're regarding now the value area high, which obviously you got a little cluster of resistance up here as well. You got the value area high right now, being regarded as resistance. Technically you'd be looking lower. So, on the immediate, you got to the downside here. We've got the February low, right? So it comes in essentially right here at 1460. We've got, I'd like to say this is that gold pocket. There it is. You got a gold pocket comes down this region. You got a previous monthly pivot in that area as well. You've got obviously a bunch of support that has been established just over the last several months here as well. So it's a big area. And then on top of that, comes back down into an old quarterly range if we did get that low. Right. That comes back down into potentially tagging the Q4 value area high. Obviously, the gold pocket is in that region. So big bounce territory. If we came down that low, big warning sign, obviously, for that would be one, losing the current low, which is previous week at that. Next, you're going to be looking for, like I said, the February low here at 1460. And then if we lose that, I mean, it's no reason why we wouldn't come down to these regions. So point of control does come in at like 1217. These are just, the levels we've been chanting for quite a while, basically since the beginning of the year at this point. But I will go over once again just this one magical area that I guess it's really a region that, really if we start to claim, I'd be looking for higher, which personally, even though I know we're getting some of this tomfoolery right here in this local price action, just from not even a sentiment, side, but just that adds to it. A lot of the negative news, we always say that the most negative news comes out at the bottom. Obviously, the most positive comes out at the high. A lot of negative things floating around with speculative, reactions, I guess, that would occur. One of them is like Mt. Gox releasing Bitcoin and all kinds of things. And you get those Mt. Gox or the grayscale releases, quite often, and it's usually when we're kind of just trending sideways, just to kind of like, make everybody just really sit back and think, rethink their positions or their life choices. The other thing that I've just really had, on my mind ever since this move up, right, is that it was the perfect scenario back here in the end of the year that more than likely shook people. You hear the shaking out of the market all the time. This December window, the November and December, was probably one of the best shakeouts I've ever seen, and that's just from we had pretty drastic drop. You had a perfect news catalyst, pretty cataclysmic event. The FTX scandal, the debacle, which I hate that word at this point, but for 2 months, that's all we heard was SBF, FTX, FML, and we just trended sideways. Everybody really was waiting to see what occurred. But you had everybody also basically cutting their crypto for tax harvesting at this region at the end of the year. You had, and the other one, the number one that just, bravo to the market makers, was you shook everybody off of exchanges at the low. So even if you didn't sell, your crypto, major losses, or, skewed you from, looking into some things, if you, this major move that occurred, most probably, diversified back into either, USDT, stable coins, whatever it is, and then ship those off into potentially their ledgers, or I would imagine that people actually just cashed out of crypto and then just got it off of exchanges, right back to the bank account, said F it. And then the first of the year comes and you just run it. So I think that everybody's really, not everybody, but a good majority is probably hoping and praying that we come lower to be able to get back in, potentially scale into the positions that they got out of. Or maybe people didn't get in on some of the, lower areas that maybe where they would have liked to. So whatever, super speculative. I'm just throwing out an idea there. And then, like I said, it's always fun to throw a poll around, just kind of mix that with the current news at the time. And, you do have the majority thinking that, we're heading lower. So whether or not we do is yet to be seen. Like I said, prepare for both. For me, it's, still looking at the chart, dissecting it in the sense of what we're going to consider for the next move. So what I'm looking for in local sense, right? So for today, we got a new daily open, which we're slightly holding at the moment. We got the daily VWAP comes in currently, right? This is going to change throughout the day. Comes in a little bit above us right now, about 1562. We're sitting at 1561. Day open's obviously going to play a pretty decent role throughout today on Wednesday, technically, in the markets, right? Weekly open is going to be a bigger role, right? You want to see that level claimed. At that point, you'd obviously be overtaking the VWAP in the short term. So if we were looking for something like that today, that's something you'd want to see. We do have our weekly pivot up here that going into the middle of the week, so it hasn't been met yet. Really nice target for a short-term trade, that's for sure. Going through the next couple days here. And the key area for me is going to be monthly open. So 1605. In the short term, you could very well just come back up to this $1,600 region, back test it, and then just take, nuke straight down. But I'll be paying close attention, right, to see moves similar to this come up, claim that month open. Once again, I was covering the idea last night where most are going to really be looking for the high to be claimed before kind of confirming any more upside. Obviously, that is a little bit more on the safer side. For me, I like to find areas that or I don't like to miss out on too much of a move if I don't have to. And for me, I have more confirmation if we flipped back into or above this monthly open from the high. That's a potential 8% move that personally I just don't want to miss out on. I'm actually long from where we are now with a stop loss below this wick. So we get stopped out is what it is. I've actually been sitting in that for a little bit, basically since we swung the last weekly low here. I think that was this time last week. So breaking Max's rule, where remaining in the market longer than I feel comfortable with, I guess, especially when we're just kind of grinding it out at this region. So yeah, so locally, like I said, daily open, weekly open, going to play a role. We're going to turn off the daily, so it's a little crowded in this region. Month open gets us back into a couple of things. So first off, we're going to take a look at let's just look at a smaller time frame here. So we'll look at the previous week, our current one, right? So previous week, right? Our low is right here, and like I said, we came through SFP'd, right? 4-hour time frame there. Pretty much is never really closed a 4-hour candle even below this level until just today. Closed one, back above, and then we're pretty much back above it at the moment. So do keep in mind that our new previous week right now is at 1522. So that is currently that low from last week. Losing that region, and then we'd be looking to the February low once again. Mark that. I guess I didn't label it. Oh, that's not even it, is it? That is it. That's February H low. Okay. So February low would be after that. But at the moment, what did we do here so far? You can see pretty clearly. Got our range mapped out. Essentially just came in, right? Kind of just swept the value very low, back into the range, back up to the point of control. So really just rooting around in this region, flipping the point of control right now, which obviously is also weekly open. So once again, just kind of stair stepping some of these regions until we get up to that monthly open is, how we kind of piecemeal some of these trade ideas together. And you can see that the point of control has definitely been, holding us down for a good bit here over the last week and a half here so far. Weekly pivot, like I said, statistical target 1588. It's not a huge move from where we are now, but if you were looking for that value area low, right, 3% move. I mean, 3% even in a week is not a bad move there. So short-term target for me, I would imagine we come up to that level at least by the end of the week here. And if we just continue on just going sideways from there, it's the question, right? Because it's not obviously too much higher than, it pretty much still even keeps our highs intact from last Sunday, the 5th. Look to see if we claim that 1588, then it's month open, get back into month open. Well, then we are back in to some fun areas, right? So I'm going to go ahead and turn off previous week. Let's look at last month. I must have turned off my open. I was like, where'd my month go? Okay. So month open, right? Currently looking at now the February range. Obviously, we've deviated it pretty drastically at the moment. Still held up pretty well by the quarterly VWAP. So looking at this, last night as well, kind of really been paying attention pretty nicely to this 4-hour time frame. Like I said, we've wicked through it, but really been holding it pretty nice. So an area to, just kind of put more so for confluence, not necessarily just the end all, be all support at the moment, but is important to note that we have been holding that. So yeah, we've deviated the range, looking for the reclaim at this point. Really, it comes back in at about 1600. Like I said, from where we are now, even just to come up and get a back test of the range, right? Do something like that and get rejected. Very possible. And then you'd just be putting in, your high, low, lower high, lower low, so on and so forth, and we continue lower. This is why that monthly open is very crucial. So when we come up to this region, I guess it is always an if we come up, really do want to see that claim, right? So, and like I said, at that point, even, you obviously have to commit your risk at that level. if you're going to be adding on to any positions or taking new ones, you really have to, consider where you're going to be, putting stop losses, things of that nature. But from there, I'd be looking to take it up, at least rotate the range back up to the 1680 mark, and then 1716. Obviously, from there, we'd look to see if we break that region, and we still remain yearly pivot major target to the upside, right? So 1989. I do want to reinforce the idea that 1989 is just that, is a target and not a blindly short the market if we get there. Obviously we'll be reevaluating along the way. But yeah, really, I mean, technically, you would have to anticipate downside from where we are now. However, you are at the deviation of the range, at least of the one I'm looking at, right? So which is last month. So when do we look for longs, right? Is when we, essentially deviate the range. So to the downside, the thing is that you're looking for them though, right? So it's not where we are at this moment, not necessarily ideal in my opinion. I think the cleanest move is, off the monthly open. Otherwise, coming back down to previous week val, which is, pretty much where we've kind of been just grinding it out at. There's opportunity there, but we got to have that stop loss in play because if we do roll over, obviously we got some downside ahead of us. But a little diddle in the middle from where we are right now. We're really just kind of in super neutral area at the moment. Obviously, it's going to depend on Bitcoin as well. And then so I mean it's 1605.01. That's the area I'm looking for there. So see who's in here. All right, lucky number 11, Dennis Bro, late to the party. At least you get to rewind. ZZ Poppy Loves, what's going on? All right, anybody got any altcoin, whatever, recommendations, not recommendations, what you would like to see? Drawing a blank. True, absolutely. Lola, always the Phantom one. I did update Phantom though recently, so that is a good one actually to go over. I really tried to make when we get in these positions where the market is just trending so hard, not trending, I guess, so hard, when we're just really just going sideways, you really do have to start, piecemealing the idea of the big move coming up and how you would, react to it, and certain areas that you want to be concerned with when, things get moving. Obviously, we can go either way, but like I said, if things start to climb back our way here, I personally like to know where some of the altcoins potentially could go, so that I, can have some targets in mind. Also looking for ideal entries. Gonna post your uni chart build tonight. Nice. Uniswap. We can take a look at Uniswap too. I feel like I just made that one recently, but oh no, that was Sushi Swap. Okay, Phantom. Higher time frame idea here, right? So this is not a looking for the daily open claim and whatnot, but this is a really high time frame range. So this idea, these levels here, you're looking to take like weeks to months to play out. Still want to be aware of the invalidation, meaning that where could this go south right at the moment. For me, Phantom, a lot of the altcoins, I'm looking for spot positions more than anything. I personally only heavily trade as far as like going short and utilizing leverage. I only really do that with Ethereum. Obviously Magic Internet Money, Max, many others in the group really focus heavily on Bitcoin in the same fashion. So I tend to just offer up a different viewpoint there with going on Ethereum in the sense of more so the day trade, more active trades in that sense. Otherwise, everything else I look for is more so swing, right? So looking to hold it for potentially, usually at least a week or two into potential months. So Phantom, really nice range, 10 months, I think. So from May to now, right? So going on going on 10 and a half, almost 11 months. Big range, right? Got a nice break. This gold pocket was actually from the high to low here. So not the high, but a high to the low. So a nice target here came into play. Now we have our current February high. This is going to offer up, when looking for that next move up. Like I said, a lot of traders will look for essentially the high to get taken, right? It's always a breakout trader's, wet dream. And that's just where the confirmation really does lie in most regards. If you come up and you claim this level, obviously that is the indication that we're going higher. Once again, I like to identify some of these a little earlier. So look, maybe the risk is higher, obviously, but this is where we are now. Poses a really decent entry, in my opinion. And you can see it just as clear as any other trade idea, right? Where you've broken the range, you're getting a nice clear back test. So I always like to make a reference to, if you're getting the probably terrible drawing idea, but you got the inverse head and shoulder, you get the breakout, you always look for that neckline back test, right? And then you continue on. Always looks inappropriate when you draw those out. Get the falling wedges, right? You get the old price action consolidating breakout. You get the back test, on you go. Bear flags, bull flags. You get the gist. So, that's not good. So here, right, we're looking at this range, same idea, breakout, back test. Obviously, we actually just took the lows as well. So, coming down is an option, so that is something to be aware of. So this is support though until it's not. So obviously looking to short this would not be ideal. Breaking back in this region and getting that back test back in here. At that point, you would be anticipating we go lower. We do have a really nice 6-month pivot, so 6-month average price worked up by hand comes in right here at 26 cents, right around that point of control. So that does become a pretty big target if we did come back into this region and start living within. At the moment, however, that is not the case. So I got a nice back test. For me, we do have an untapped monthly pivot, so that's a high statistical target of being met this month. And when looking at things in the sense of spot versus leverage, you got more wiggle room when you're just getting into a spot position. As far as if you did see a little pull down in this region and then push back up, that's 7, 8, 9, 10% possibly that we could come back into this little area. We see it all the time. And you could potentially come back out, but this, if you're on leverage, 3%, 5%, that comes so quick and so often that it's just not necessary, in my opinion, to utilize leverage. I think it's just more opted for you to get jacked up. You might win a couple of decent areas, decent trades, and then just get really cocky and then throw it all on 10x liquidation only, and drops 10% just to come back and hit your target afterwards. Anyways, where we are now, 24% just in the month pivot. So at some point here in March, I would imagine we come up to that level. So that is a pretty decent return, right, as far as that would go. Once again, you're at support now. Keep in mind that you lose that, you do have to start reevaluating and changing the script a little. Otherwise, it's monthly pivot. This gold pocket, once again, has already been washed, but relevant nonetheless. More than anything, I'd be looking for, obviously, the current high. We could obviously just utilize the market structure with this high as well, but flip that high, and then it's pretty decent run, in my opinion, up to potentially $1.10, $1.15. This whole box. So from where we are now, this is assuming that Ethereum runs it up to 2K, and Bitcoin's pushing up towards like 27, and things like that, right? We'd have to see the entire market push up. But that's what, like I said, in this time frame when the market is just trending, it's not even trending, that's not even the right word to say, but when it's going sideways, I guess it is a trend at the moment. You want to be, for me, I take a lot of time and I start identifying areas that could come into play. A lot of times these play out very well, where if we're looking for macro quarterly ranges and things of that nature, when you're coming into the value area low. Solana was a really good one. Really good example was Solana, right? So at the end of Q4, right, when the height of the fear for whatever was going on with FTX, right? So Solana was, FTX's little slut there, right? So you're talking the last day of December. So this range, right, we've been looking at towards the end of the year. This was our quarterly, right, our quarter 4, and came down, got a really nice tag off the overall value area low. So once again, kind of have to decide for yourself if you're going to, initiate any kind of risk at that point. I took them all off because we've already ran through them, but there's posted in the group where obviously we had a slew of, statistical targets. When you have these big moves down, you leave a lot of, inefficiencies on the way. So back testing, backfilling those was pretty high chance. And then we had the overall range came up to about $24. Obviously, we know how that is all played out. This is also why I think that news just really is the excuse, right? So most people probably dumped out of their Solana right at the low, threw all their cash off of an exchange because they were afraid of all the exchanges going belly up, and probably left crypto only to really be upset about that 2 weeks later. So Solana is another one that's really kind of teetering around this higher area of this range even that we've been in. Came up and tagged the overall low from the next range above us, holding some pretty statistical targets here pretty well. You have the gold pocket from low to high right now, aligning pretty nicely with the point of control. Thing is, once again, it's, are we going to see it? I think a lot of people would, maybe not even Solana, maybe nobody's really looking to just jump into Solana for another move or anything like that. But for Solana to drop that much, you're talking 30-35%. Not that it's out of the question. You'd have to imagine the rest of the market's probably taking a good hit too. 15% for ETH. Haircuts across the board. What does that look like right now, by the way? I'm just curious where, like, when you're looking for potentially 30-40% on an altcoin, generally, Ethereum's, dropping half of that, sometimes the same. That would actually put us right in line with that gold pocket, right? So if Ethereum comes down to this gold pocket, right there, then yeah, Solana probably drops that back down to that 35%, mark from where we're just looking at. So back down to $13, that gold pocket point of control region. So that's what I'd be looking for if big ifs, right? At the end of the day, realistically, when we're looking at this, I mean, you can't really ignore what we have at the moment. Granted, the initial argument is going to be right over here, I suppose. You had your low. I mean, this was kind of fuck you rally on the way up, but lower high, higher low, whatever. Get your high right there. Obviously, you came down and made a lower low right here, but you're making these higher highs, higher lows along the way. This is pretty tight right here. Pretty big bullish, bearish divergence back in that time frame as well. So, like I said, I know that I just pointed that out because I know that the second I showed the other one over here, everybody's like, "Whoa, about that one to the left." So low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, potentially higher low at the moment. Could get that break and move higher here. So something to just keep in mind is that the structure has not been broken yet, right? Coming down and really losing, this region. Not only is it the low at the moment as far as locally, it's our previous month low as well. So coming down and closing 4 hours below, daily below, coming up and back testing, those things that you want to look for. If we were to true and blue just come down and actually lose this region, get a back test, from that point, we're heading down to these regions. I mean, there's no reason we wouldn't. The flip side of that is doing exactly what we did last week, right? This was our low at the time, right there, right? So what do? You come back down, you swing it, come back up, and you close above the level. And we've been holding that level ever since. Potentially, we have the risk of doing that here, right? You come down, you take the low, close back above it. Now, effectively, you just stopped out a ton of people before potentially the move carries on. In my opinion, that recipe is already there. In a sense, that's always an option, obviously, but the amount of time we've spent now since here, where, like I said, that was February's low, but that was not like February 1st or February 30th, 28th. It was the 13th. So we're going on a month where, this is our current low going into play. So anyone really longing, in this region has obviously placed their stop losses below these lows. Obviously, this one's going to play a big role. The reason that I don't point too much to this at the moment is like this is from currently, so this is new longs. You're talking like a 6% move, so it's there. But anybody that went long in this region obviously had a stop loss probably below this area, this little wick, and yeah, at this point, people are probably loading up potentially more shorts if I had to guess. And the only reason is, like I said, everybody's aiming lower. But we'll see how it goes, because obviously now you got your potential lower high, potentially lower lows coming in. I think that this little rounded top here, the other one actually I can see everybody looking at is an M top here. So all those things can be thrown out. Everything is speculative, obviously, at the moment. And like I said, I'm not saying we won't go down. And but I have, for me, I the levels that I'll be looking for to dictate that for my strategy. This is what I outline, right? So hope that makes sense. Kind of went back to Ethereum here somehow, but we were on Phantom. Ethereum Classic. I'm just curious to see what that looks like. Looking right at it. So ETH Classic generally gets a pretty decent move, after tends to lag a little bit behind not Bitcoin, Ethereum. We didn't really see that this time around. So something that I just noticed, I suppose, really was anticipating, really the key level to breach was going to be that 2366, that point of control. You can see that we've been held down by it. Referencing since the beginning of the year pump, right? So what was this? 62%. So it's actually really interesting to see. So Bitcoin and Ethereum have a very interesting relationship at times. One will outperform the other as far as percentage gains or drop, and then very few that they go just almost hand in hand. And Bitcoin since the January rally so far has pushed up, I think, 63%. Ethereum from low to high 63%, which is weird. Not too weird, but it's they've been just neck and neck. And then for Ethereum Classic, I bring that up because in the same time frame of last summer, where Ethereum pushed 120%, I believe it was, you had 240% push in Ethereum Classic in the same token. Many iterations, that is the case, where you get a 2x, 3x of whatever Ethereum pushed up out of Ethereum Classic. So very interesting that this time around, once again, you get the almost exact percentage move up that you got out of Ethereum. So clear that 2345, and I would be looking for this gold pocket and overall this range high here would be that next move up. So there's like 3560. This was a big this is a leftover target up here too. So that's a local 1618 from low high to low, but quarterly point of control more than anything as well comes into play up there. Getting a little ahead of ourselves though. I really be looking for this region if we got a nice little move, obviously next. And that's like an 85% move if we get it. Obviously, you got this lovely little rounded top going on right here that I'm sure most would disagree that we'd be seeing any upside on. Again, looking at this from a level basis, right? Where we at? About to come into that gold pocket. I would imagine, get at least a bounce out of that point. So support is coming in, and you got 2353 would be the level to flip. From there, it's pretty much the next region would be this gold pocket above. I'm going to take a look at something I haven't looked at in a little bit as well, just to kind of spice it up. We could go coin after coin at this point, but I mean, everything's kind of at a standstill. I was going to take a look at the total markets. So you can even wrap ranges and moving and averages around the total market cap. Not sure where the volume actually, I'll be, up front. I don't know where or how, because we don't trade, the total market cap itself. At least I'm not aware that we do anywhere. So I don't know where the volume comes in at as far as measuring it by, but I use it quite often and it's respected pretty well. But regardless, got a pretty big overall range here. I'm actually going to update it to just pull it over, see how it looks now. Didn't really change, so tighten that up. You see that we got the deviation back in, back test to high. So once again, potentially, right, we have a way down here towards that point of control. The only thing that has my attention right now against that idea is the fact that you got a little market structure gig going on right here, right? And you got that higher low at the moment. So it's important to kind of be aware of, once again, where you are, where things are. Obviously, we lose that region. It's not too much further at that point from that point of control, which is going to be that major target. And then obviously the whole market has a untapped yearly pivot, which is about 30% away, which 30% for the whole market cap. I mean, you're talking that's phantom pushing 200%. That's some big moves. Do have the untapped yearly pivot all the way down to 163 billion for the altcoins, by the way. Be the only one we don't hit if we don't come back down to it. So not that we don't have, there's going to be at least one or two out of the bunches that don't get met, but that would be gnarly to the downside. What's this? Total 3. So this is no Bitcoin, no ETH. So pretty sideways, right? I mean, this is actually a little sideways and downish, but overall, I mean, we're nowhere that we haven't been since May of 2022, right? The average almost is pretty much where we're at. Mir is a big one for me. Kind of always has. Newer Newer project. Obviously, I've touched on it quite a bit. Um, Traded it pretty well. A lot of last year, honestly, even up into the all-time highs. I think it was close to making all-time highs like this time last year. I could be wrong. April 2022. Yes, we were almost pushing back an all-time high status. One of the few, if I'm not mistaken, but either way, I just remember that being pretty close at the time. A big area for me is, I guess, a simple area at the moment is that yearly pivot up here. We got a, overall our range here. Our gold pocket is just below us here. As you can see, about $1.80. So it's like 20 cents away. Month open is incorrect. Not incorrect. It's just from last month. I haven't updated it. Ooh, and you got a little untapped monthly pivot up here. Okay. So I'm going to switch this up. I'm just going to throw this up to here since the other one's already been washed through. It's kind of a similar situation to ETH for near, right? So one thing about near is that you got this overall range here coming in. I think this is Q4. It is. Year open for a lot of the altcoins is going to essentially be the overall low. So if we did come all the way back down to that level, that would be pretty big support, at least for a short-term bounce, big bounce opportunity. Otherwise, it's a gold pocket below us right now. To the upside, really looking for this region to get flipped. So month open, monthly pivot, flip those, and then we're at least probably going to rotate the range, come up and take the highs at 292, and then from there I got a really big, it's almost like a overzealous target. So I mean, this would also have to really mean that the market's moving hard, because that's like it's actually not that extreme when you think about it. 300% potential. Definitely not something to marry, but for me, worth picking up some spot areas around here for, maybe a 300% move over the year. Would not even get close to being all-time highs or anything like that. So it's not like you're, really having to hope for, moonshots here. This is just still coming up and basically back testing some old support as resistance at that point, and that's your yearly average. So you have a global range here as well. So this is a little bit more. That's a lot more. I don't know where my little pivot went, but more so a shorter term target, right? So that $7 region, obviously, like I said, is kind of a little overzealous. But where we are now, once again, kind of initiated once we claim that month open and month pivot right here. You got the gold pocket comes up to this region right here, which is also a harmonic target that we had off this butterfly, I do believe, right here. So target of that is going to be back up to your B leg. It's also your gold pocket. So that is definitely where I'm aiming at short term. Usually about a 93% move. Once again, the rest of the market's going to be moving if that's the case as well. But that does come into, this is pretty valid at this point. Looking to take it up to that B leg, right? So at the moment, if no position is had, I'd be looking for that month open to get claimed. Monthly pivot is right after that. Otherwise, we have the gold pocket that I brought up earlier to the downside. Right here, basically on that global POC. And this is once again a spot idea, so if you're, for me, it's, obviously getting it as close to certain areas as possible is ideal. You can limit it, you can limit in. Sometimes I don't necessarily get super greedy on that last little bit if it's only, how much is it? What is the potential drop just to even the global point control? Let's just see what it is. It actually might be substantial, might be like 15%. That's a pretty big move. So 10%, 11%, just get down to that region. But to me, if I'm looking at a potential 90 on a spot hold, I might consider getting in around that region if I didn't have positions already, right? So, but you got to anticipate being underwater a little bit. So that's totally, like I said, spot trading and spot holding and things of that nature. You got to prepare to be underwater to some degree for certain amounts of time, and then also be able to know where you want to, cut that trade as well. So, but yeah, gold pocket above, still a major, more so shorter term target. You got an untapped quarterly pivot just above that, and then really after that would be year pivot. Take all the highs, come back up. I mean, you take everything at that point, right? All the way back to basically May of last year. There's an untapped quarterly above that value or high, but I would, personally, I wouldn't get greedy. If I'll probably be scaling out a decent amount if we got to this point, and then reevaluating. Big key word there though is if we get to that point, right? So not overlooking this region at all, and also being aware that if we do start losing, realistically just about where we are now, and start regarding some of these as resistance, that we could very well be heading down. So that's still the plan here with near, and yeah, that's about all I got for you all tonight. It's kept it right at 47 minutes, which I can't even believe that, because I didn't think we'd have that much to talk about, because market has done absolutely nothing. It's always a good time. Hope you all did enjoy. Lola did do your near for you. The rest of these projects, I'm going to do a new Uniswap coin. That one actually might be my chart build that I do next week, next Monday in the group. As many of you know, I do altcoin chart builds, so I could build it completely from scratch in the trading group on Leading Crypto Discord. Monday nights, 9 p.m. They're recorded. Obviously, you can watch them back. So far, we've done Mina Protocol, we've done AVAX. Next week I'll find a new one. It might be Sushi Swap, depending. But yeah, aside from that, anybody interested in joining the Leading Crypto Discord server, you can find us at leadingcrypto.io. That is our website. You can find that in the link in the description below as well, if you're interested in learning more. Otherwise, I'll see you all in the next video. I hope you all have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. And until then, everybody, cheers.